Welcome aboard. Please hold on tight when moving around. Please always follow the instructions. Thank you for traveling on the man.
Hello Sunshine, welcome back to another episode of HeartablazE podcast. I don't know if you can see me really well, but I couldn't place it too close to the ocean because I don't want all my equipment to get wet. But yes, it's a very typical sunny day in Australia, so I thought it'd be nice to come to the beach and get in touch with nature, but also let's talk about body image. It's really nice water. I haven't been in over like a year and a half, I think. It's been a while since I've been to Manly Beach. This is where I'm at. Yeah, it took me a lot of courage to walk out here with my shirt off. I guess I'll start with my story. When I grew up, I always kind of covered myself up with like my blazer at school. Didn't really take it off even when it was really hot. Ooh, look at the waves. But basically, when I was like a teenager, I started getting very skinny, and I've always stayed this way. I have a very fast metabolism, and any kind of attention towards my body generally wasn't very, very good. It was always a little bit triggering to a degree, and I think I learned to kind of cope with it, especially with friends. But it still probably wasn't enough. And after I came out and started going on like apps and stuff, I think part of the reason why I hooked up as much as I did was because I enjoyed the validation that you get when people say that you're sexy and you're good looking, and that was something that made me feel more comfortable about taking photos of myself or showing my skin. And I think that's not a very healthy coping mechanism, and it's become quite unhealthy, so I've kind of started steering away from that and started to look within. I think if you're struggling with body image, a really important part to realize when you're making changes to decide, is it because someone else said something, or is it because you really feel like you could be better and you could be a different way, to really feel happy with your life and make that decision. Base it on yourself, on your own values, not on someone else's judgment and criticism. I think the best way to describe it, because I'm a foodie, is there's a lot of kind of people in the world. Just like food, there's all sorts of food. Some people won't like pizza. Some people tell you pizza's really bad. Some people say pizza's the worst thing in the world. Can't believe you eat that. Doesn't make pizza bad food. Doesn't make it not tasty food. That's not true, obviously. It's all in terms of context. And one of the most important things that people neglect to kind of delve into and educate themselves about is that body imagery, or we should say body types, have a lot to do with different kind of things, and there's so many factors that can affect it. Some people have certain health issues or genetic diseases that kind of influence them. Some people have to take certain medication that fluctuates their weight. Some people have a different kind of metabolism. It's just all that makes everyone different. Even though we are so alike in so many ways, our bodies genetically and DNA-wise can be very, very different and very, very unique person to person. Whoa, that was really huge. So I think it's absolutely necessary to basically don't say anything unless you have something nice to say, and try to be graceful with how you approach other people, and try to learn other people's boundaries in terms of when you're going towards anything that goes about their weight. I think that's really, really important. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about myself as well. So I think when I was reading up about body image and like eating disorders in particular, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, a lot of it has to do with factors such as like how you were brought up, your environment, maybe your parents, how they treated you. For me, I think my parents often commented on weight. Asian parents tend to do that a lot, whether you're a little bit slightly fatter. Like my sister, she was not exactly obese, she was just a little bit slightly more curvy, and she was often called too fat by my parents. And I was always commented that I was too skinny, I need to eat more, I need to make sure I'm eating this and that. A lot of those kind of things. And my mom was a warrior, so warrior as in someone who worries a lot, not a fighter, but she is also that. And the other thing that she says a lot is like about the beach in particular. She would say, "Be careful of getting skin cancer," and she also worried about sharks. So it's a lot of fear mongering essentially. And I think the reason I came out here is because I just don't want to live life in fear and kind of lose experiences. And 2026 has been a very big year for the podcast in particular. Is about experiencing all the different parts of life and all the different kind of experiences life has to offer me, because um, addiction has taken that a lot of time away from me, and also a lot of experiences from me, and a lot of connections from me. And if I don't put myself out there, I will never get to really see what life is all about. Um, and yeah, and I feel like you know everyone's out here experiencing it. I want to be part of that group as well. Um, and I feel like I would have been more comfortable if a friend was here with me doing all this stuff and taking off my shirt. But ultimately, it was good that I came alone and I didn't put off the plan and show that I can still accomplish these things. So I'm about to have my lunch. Got some fish and chips from one of my favorite stores here. But since I'm about to eat, I thought it would be a good chance to talk about food. It's really sunny today, really nice weather, but I can barely keep my eyes open. So I think food is really relevant to this topic, because there's just so much I guess fad diets out there, and there's all these misinformation. There's a lot of information. We get information so easily and readily accessible in our pockets these days, carrying around essentially the world's knowledge. But obviously, there's always wrong things, and just because someone believes in something doesn't necessarily make it right or make it the correct thing to listen to. And sometimes when you speak with enough confidence about something, it really can convince a lot of people, even if it's the incorrect information. It's about the attitude sometimes as well. Um, what I really think is, from everything that I've accessed, and what I really believe is the best way to approach a healthy diet is diversity, and variety is what really makes the best diet. Not sort of going berserk over junk food, or things that are a little bit more on the side of indulgence, but also not going too crazy about vitamins, or going too crazy about something that has some good effects for you. Everything that's good has its limits as well. Too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing. I think the most important thing is to remember that, and also remember to actually research your topics. Anything you kind of access for information wise these days requires a bit of confirmation, especially with AI become readily accessible now as well. I think it's really, really important. Another thing that's really important is to remember that food comes with a lot of issues as well, in the sense that it's not only how food is made in a certain country, how it's processed, how it's manufactured, can be very, very different. For example, one of the stories I remember hearing is gluten being an issue in America, right? A lot of people have gluten intolerance or celiacs. There's a few instances where people have gone to Europe after discovering they had celiac disease, went to Europe, tried to have some pastries there, and noticed that they didn't have any stomach issues. And it then traces back to sort of how they actually process the wheat in America, and the way they still process it is something that's outdated and no longer allowed in other countries. So it kind of goes to show, a lot of stuff that they have in their food can be really, really bad for you. And so what I'm trying to say is, don't be too harsh and judgmental on other people's bodies and appearances. Try to give them grace and a lot of love, and try to understand and reach out and get educated before you kind of make those judgments. Especially people who are maybe like genetically a little bit more gifted and like easier to like slim down, it would sometimes pick on other people and say like, oh, what are you doing at the gym? You're just gonna like work out and then go stuff your face. Comments like that are absolutely unacceptable. And I think it's very important to speak out on these platforms about things like that. I mean, on the skinnier side, me being like on that side, generally like get more compliments than probably like bad comments like that for like say people who are a little bit more curvy or plus sized. And but either way, I think the attention sometimes just isn't very, very comfortable, and it's a bit unforgiving, to be honest. Depending on how well your mental health is, even good comments can sometimes be like, when directed at in like the area of weights and body type, can still make you very, very uncomfortable and feel not good and kind of trigger things. um, but yeah, like another thing I wanted to mention was kind of like food diseases. What should I call it? Eating disorder diseases, I should say. Um, there's two people that I follow. One, I can't remember her name, but her name's Grace. I can't remember the account name. I mean. And the other one is Pat and Jack. And Pat and Jack, I'll talk about first. They basically cover ARFID, which is food eating disorder, where it's kind of like it's an eating disorder where you can't um, eat certain foods due to sensitivity in like texture. Um, there's a few things to do with it, but basically, the for Pat and Jack, that channel, it's a lot to do with, I find, texture. Texture really throws him off a lot of certain foods. And this is a particularly dangerous group because it's very, very much likely that you'll be having nutritional issues, uh, inefficient like inefficiencies for certain vitamins. Obviously, if you don't intake enough of the right kind of food, and because you're so limited in certain ways, and depending on what you choose to eat, like what you can actually feel comfortable eating. If it's really narrow in one area, say like it's just protein focused and no veggies or something like that, it can easily become an issue.
Okay, so you tried watermelon for the first time like over a year ago now. And so now you're going to try it for the second time.
Yep.
And it wasn't bad the first experience, right?
No. I remember I kind of liked it.
Okay, and it's one of your favorite flavors for like
Yes.
artificial flavoring?
Yeah.
This one is very juicy.
The one I had the last time, I remember you complained that it wasn't like as good as it
This
could
one is
be.
probably better, yeah.
That was not bad.
Ooh, texture is not too bad?
I mean,
It's pretty weird, isn't it?
I don't like the texture per se,
Okay.
but it's absolutely doable. Maybe this is something
Cool.
I need to force myself to continuously, it'll be something I can eat.
Yeah, let's do more watermelon.
For Grace, she basically has come out the other side for a journey already, but this eating disorder, I have to get the name down here, but she basically started a journey where she put all her food challenges in like a little raffle sort of jar, and she would pick out a few for like the week, and then she would challenge herself to eat them. Um, and I think it probably stems likely from a place of like something to do with body image, body dysmorphia, and that kind of stuff, and low self confidence gone into a very, very unhealthy level. And she's very, very brave and very amazing for actually having accomplished that. And yeah, she is now free of the challenge, and she's back to eating whatever she wants, and she's kind of focusing more on events and other things for her channel, which is great to see. It's a little sad that she's not making the same content anymore, because it is really cool to watch. But hope that came out the right way. But basically, it was really fun to see her challenge herself and come out the other side every single time and be so happy, and you share that happiness with her. It was a very, very wholesome time frame. But it's very, very uplifting now, and I'm very happy for her to see that she no longer has to deal with that as much anymore. I'm sure sometimes the challenges still pop up, but she has totally what it takes to deal with it.
all of my fear foods to show you that it's possible to get complete food freedom. And today we're challenging the final food of the jar. We are doing Dolly's dessert. It is literally the final one. I'm so excited. Overwhelming that it's the last one, but also very exciting. I feel like there couldn't have been a better last food to challenge because I have been wanting to go to Dolly's for so long. And let me tell you, it was incredible. I got a mini egg crepe, which was 10 out of 10, and Jonah went for a white chocolate crepe with strawberries on top. I really want to thank you for being here and for being in this community and also following along on this journey. I feel like I went from somebody who was so scared to challenge the eating disorder to somebody who's now taken that control back, and recovery was the best decision I ever made. So let this be your sign to choose recovery. You deserve that. You deserve food freedom, and nothing bad will happen from challenging the eating disorder, only good.
But yeah, I'm gonna go and eat some food. That's what I thought would be, as my 2 cents on the subject, and I think it would be something worth thinking about. Try to keep your diet diverse. Eat a little bit of everything. Balance your things out. If you're gonna eat bad during the lunch, maybe morning breakfast, still have something, but have something that's a little bit more easy to digest. Gives you the right energy for the rest of the day. Keeps you full. All that kind of stuff. Try to do things in a healthy way. And process takes time. It shouldn't be like a sudden drop or a sudden rise of anything. That's never good for your body, fluctuating in any kind of way. That is not how our body works. And if you need to, obviously speak to a dietitian, nutritionist. Go about the right ways. Education is power, like I always say.
Briefly, with the beach, because you're a water sign, water's your element, which you already know that, but so even quick showers are really good for cleansing and grounding, but the ocean has got the negative ion effect, so which it says negative, but it's actually uplifting and grounding and everything. So what I normally do is I walk along the water's edge, just where the waves come up on the sand, and I allow the ocean water to just run over my feet. I usually only go up to my ankles because the water might be a bit fresh at this time of year. But yeah, and just with when I do it, my intention is to cleanse, ground, and release all the dross, in other words, lower vibrational energies that no longer serve me and my highest good. I surrender it back to the ocean and give thanks and gratitude. So yeah, I'm sure you'll really enjoy your visit to the beach, and yeah, if you just surrender any emotions that come up, as they often do, and just allow the ocean to wash it all off your energy field and light bodies, and I'm sure you'll get a good boost from that. And yeah, it's also mindfulness, of course, being in the moment. So yeah, that's about it for now.
Hello, Sunshine. I'm back in my room. It was so great. It was really relaxing experience. In hindsight, it's crazy that it's been that long since I've wanted to go to the beach, and it still took that long to get there. It's something I've been working on this year too. Obviously, not like to be a bit more impulsive in regards to experiences and saying yes to more things, and not sort of going with the I'll do that next time. I'll try that place next time. It happens with a lot of restaurants I found in like past years that, I just end up never going, and eventually the place even closes and I just never get to try it. It's just about seizing opportunity, and really I've seen a big difference and feel like a lot of things opening up as soon as I kind of keep saying yes and starting to experience things. And the other thing I wanted to mention, so I obviously was a little flustered at the beach, just a little bit all up in my head because I'm like worried about people watching me, but eventually I got more comfortable, but it was still very hard for me to say everything that I wanted to say in a very cohesive manner. And one of the main things I really wanted to point out was, I think like everyone's the same. Everyone's kind of got a little bit of that where they're kind of thinking too much about like how other people are going to be like looking at you, or judging what you're doing, oh, what's he doing on his camera or something like that. But honestly, content creation is so normal these days. That's one of the things that you should think about, and you should just let it go and be yourself. And I don't want to like give up on like a project that I'm passionate about or an idea that I really want to do by overthinking and not end up doing it. So I'm really glad I did it today. And it was really cute at the end. I noticed there was a family of little kids with a mum, and they were smiling and looking at me and like kind of like excited about what I was doing. And it looked like maybe they were asking her like what I was doing, and I just waved back at them and smiled, and that made me instantly feel a lot more confident and a lot better. And there's all sizes and shapes of people and all different ages that I can see there. Obviously in film, because that's kind of weird, and not everyone wants to be filmed. But that reminded me that everyone's gone through all sorts of different things, and most people are kind people who try to, approach things with love and understanding and inclusiveness. Racism and judgments and stuff are all definitely still a thing in every country, including Australia. But the general amount of people I've ever met have always been kind and loving and heart forward. And I think that's a very important thing to remember, and to take that energy and make that my own and keep on passing on like love. The thing that's most powerful compared to hate is love, obviously, as Benito Bad Bunny says. The other thing I really wanted to talk about was a little bit more about so my parents' influences. So my mom's a big warrior. She worries a lot. She always sends me links about 90% of the time about what new diseases are found, what viruses are currently emerging in Australia and things like that. And I just don't, I love her, but I don't love that energy, because it can be very, very draining when people are like that. And I also just worry that she's, when you're worrying, they do say when you worry a lot and stress a lot, you'll create bad cells, and bad cells get you closer to cancer and such. So I'm making an effort to try to always be on a positive outlook and try to regenerate my energy. And as an empath, and my friend Michelle can confirm this too, she's an empath too, we're really good friends, very similar. And empaths tend to soak up all that energy a lot faster. So negative energies affect us a lot more. But one thing I did want to mention was that, I don't know, I think it's instilled a lot of things. As much as I go against some of the things, I would think oh, that doesn't really matter that much. A lot of things that I've instilled in the family as we grew up, because it was a good family, but it was very toxic in its own ways as well, which I can cover another time. But yeah, she tells us about sharks in the water, which I actually do feel a bit scared of. But when there's that many people at the beach, I feel it's a lot less need to worry. And it's not like I ever really swim far, because I wear glasses, and that's kind of a big thing. That is an actual reason why I kind of don't like going to swim in the beach completely, because it's just, I feel with my glasses, then I'm gonna have trouble seeing and finding my way back to my towel and stuff, even if I don't have to worry about storage and lockers and such, which most people don't seem to worry about. And today confirmed that. So all the more reason for me to go there. You just don't know until you try things. So it was really comfortable today, and really encourages me and built my courage for later on, and comfort for that. And the water felt really, really good, and it was a really nice day. It was the best day to enjoy summer. I really finally starting to get Australian, as an Australian. I'm a bit late to the party, but I'm really starting to understand how nice it is to be inside the water, especially on such a nice warm day. And it wasn't excessively so. And enjoying some food. Could do some people did reading there. Some people just sat down on the towel and ate a Subway sandwich. There was a girl next to me, really enjoying it. Yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, other things that my mom has said, I mentioned, she says we're going to get skin cancer, don't stay out there for too long, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, if you do take care of yourself and use sunscreen, and obviously, monitor the amount of time you spend there, you don't have to be in there long. But I think touching ground, in a sense, usually it's referring to soil and forest bathing and such, which have very, very significant, big impacts on people who stress easily, which I do. I do sometimes get anxiety and stress really easily, especially when things are changing or something that I'm not 100% wanting to do, but is forced upon me. Then sometimes, for example, new works and stuff, getting back into work in a cafe is very stressful for me. Things like that. yeah, and when I was in school, people would used to also like kind of like talking back about body image, people used to kind of go like, whoa, look how thin your wrist is, I can put my finger around it, oh my god, and everyone come and try it. And I think like part of it was like kind of fun because I was like, okay, cool, I got some attention, and like it's a cool thing. But at the same time, I think there was a part of me that kind of gets a little bit, let's say, triggered by that like kind of interaction. I don't know, I guess when you're sensitive about it and when it is something that you don't feel 100% confident about in every way, and I wasn't comfortable with myself yet at that age, and I'm getting there very slowly. It can be something that triggers you in the long run. One of the worst comments I've ever had is eat a burger, when I was like showing someone pictures of someone on Grindr years back. Or just comments like that. Some people have unfiltered sort of, they've kind of become way too accustomed online living and just kind of no longer kind of realize that like this is a real person they talk to. There's even like skits and videos online of people showing like, imagine if we talked about like talk to real people like this in real life, as if like we were talking in the comment section of like online platforms and social media. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I guess like that kind of touches on it, but you know what I mean about like family, like that's a big impact for some people. Just like passing by comments, or even just comments about because you're worried about that person, sometimes can generate fear and generate insecurities. So be mindful if you're a parent. Try to educate your kids, educate yourself obviously, and educate your kids with love. It's really important to teach them from an early age to not only not like force food on them, teach them a better way to kind of engage with food, be curious, be open to trying things, but be honest about how you feel, and engage and talk about things and be open to talk about things, and know that everyone is diverse. Learn to teach them more about body diversity, DNA diversity, genetics, diseases. All these kind of things are really valuable lessons that a child could learn. But the most important thing is to teach them to love anyone regardless of size, color, and gender, or like if they have any troubles with the identity of that sort. Teach them that the world is a place where variety is what kept us alive. Variety is what kept the world interesting, and variety is what builds, actually a safer civilization of like people, because DNA diversity is very important when it comes to diseases and such. There's a lot of like species that get wiped out because they don't have that genetic variation. So white supremacy and that sort of stuff is very, very dangerous in terms of surviving as a species. That's my 2 cents on that. The other thing I really wanted to talk about is for girls. I think girls in particular have been very, very sexualized and treated as an object in Hollywood in particular. And Hollywood is very, very toxic in so many different ways, including like romanticizing love, and love is not taught in the correct way. I think that's another thing that parents could really learn to teach kids, especially when it comes to like the moment of the birds and bees. But yeah, there's so many things you can teach. But my main focus that I want to talk about today is that girls get dealt a lot of shit already. So girls, they have a lot to live up to from like social media, and that's not healthy, and you should stop thinking that way, and you need to cut that down. If you're a woman that wants to change the world, or if you want to make yourself feel better and make the world a better place, start living by your own sort of body image, start living by your own way, and build your confidence. Here's a few reasons why. For example, sometimes some people feel like, oh, I'm a little bloated, I look like I've got a gut. Women are supposed to have a little bit more curve and a little bit more fat reserve. That's actually how your body is built. You naturally look like that, and your gut is probably a little bit more protruded because you actually basically host another organ that males do not have. Males and females cannot be compared in the same way in terms of leanness and all that kind of things. And fat reserves are there to help you actually survive. It's also kind of like things that help a baby survive, have some more reserves to kind of protect you in case like things got worse. A lot of the things that we actually, the way we act, the way we think, all of those things, the way we behave or react to certain situations, fight or flight response, all of that kind of traces back to surviving in the wild. It's just that we're taking a long time to adapt and change our brain, and brain takes time to evolve, but it's just still kind of lingering in a fight or flight situation of like a wildlife kind of wild what would you call it, like living in the wild caveman kind of style mentality, even though you're now living in a city. It doesn't know. It's just kind of like, oh, this is danger, or that could be potentially be danger. Let me kind of really like suss out any possible negative outcomes rather than focus on positivity, because negative stuff is what will keep you alive, and positivity, you know, might be a mistake and then you'll be eaten by an animal. So you never know. But that goes back to the point. I digress a little bit, but that's a very good example. So definitely don't be too hard on yourself. If you have a little bit of gut, that's kind of basically what your body needs. You can't do anything about that. And you know, you look great, like either way. There's so many different ways of perceiving beauty, and it's changed so much over time. I mean, just look at dresses alone for females, how they used to dress over time, how much it's changed in every country. All those were like just contextual. So build your own beauty, build your own standard. And in the end, your health and mental health is way more important than anyone else's consideration and judgment of you. So you really need to work on that and love yourself. Make sure that nobody tears you down for that, because they're an asshole if they do. Sorry about language, but that's just how it is. I don't think if there's any other things. And, you know, for example, women also, like, you shouldn't have to cop a lot of all this like judgment, because you already have to cop a lot of stuff. You know, you're born like with an extra thing, periods that you have to deal with that men do not have to deal with. Then you have to deal with menopause. Again, men don't have to deal with that. You have kids. After you have kids, sometimes you can have depression related to, like, what's it called? Post maiden depression or something. But you get the drift. Like, it's no fun. There's a lot of shit that can happen. And, you know, women are basically like trying to like fix their insides after giving birth, which is a magical thing, and it actually does create a lot of disturbance inside and a lot of injuries, technically, rips and tears. And then they're basically, after a small amount of time, expected to just go back to work. It's the same as when they get periods. Some people's periods are actually so, like, I used to work with a girl, I won't say her name, but it starts with S, but she used to have the worst cramps. Like, she would basically, she's the strongest woman I know, very cool, very quick learner, very impressive and very independent, but it gets to a point where she sometimes has to crouch down or kneel down, like lay on the floor for a bit behind the coffee machine, just because the cramps hurt her that much. And that scale of number, you know, just the painful things that women have to deal with, the scale only ever goes up. And, you know, one country that I recently read about, I forget where, they've actually, I think it was Scotland. Scotland has recently decided to cover and give females tampons and such for these kind of care products completely for free, which is something that we should do in all of the countries, because they didn't deserve this, and they're doing a lot of things. If you expect people to carry children, if you expect them to grow populations, start taking care of the women who are oftentimes the main ones looking after. I'm not saying, like, you know, there aren't any single dads out there, but I've known a lot of friends recently, especially building a lot of new friends. A lot of friends have deadbeat dads, or dads who just never really connected with their kids. And the females are often, the mothers are often the ones left behind to kind of tidy up the shit, you know, and do things on behalf of another, for two people, you know, really. In Chinese culture, this is a part that's very, very good. In Chinese culture, they have a thing where it's intentional, where it's called 坐月, but I don't know how to translate in English, but essentially after giving birth, you look after them for like a whole month and continuously feed them like very sort of high nutrient soups and such, and kind of nurture them, and you look after and take care of them, help them look after the baby, do a lot of things. They are very, very much looked after and cherished, and they know what needs to be respected. And that's a very, very respectable part of their culture. But yeah, I won't mumble on too much about that, but that's kind of what I really wanted to bring up. I just think that women have a lot to fight for from day one of their birth. And, you know, like, I think once they kind of grow to a certain age, they start maturing way faster than men, because they realize that, you know, they have to protect themselves when they go out at a certain time at night, when they have to go out running, you know, they have to go in groups. If they go out for a drink, they have to worry about being spiked. They drive alone, they have to worry about people tagging their car for, you know, sex trafficking. And children, younger females and older females, all of them are susceptible to the same kind of pain and fear, and it's just so not okay. And, you know, we as a society really should just be doing better to kind of I mean, give them more grace and also more help. For example, last thing I'll mention before we move on, obviously, is Japan does a really, really great job at essentially everyone looks after everyone's kids. And that's why you often see kids going out, buying their own things and, going around sort of later into the evening, even when they're young and they're more independent in that sense. But they're also looked after because they believe, the kids are like the future. So everyone has to look after them. And that's something that can be implemented in way more countries than it is. Anyway, so that's my gist of it. And body image wise, I think I'm getting there a little bit. I'm definitely I know I definitely am skinny, but I've always eaten quite a lot and like to snack a lot, but I just have a very fast metabolism. I just never really bulk up that much weight. I think the most I've ever been was like at 50 kilos when I was trying to bulk up a little bit at the gym, and I was told to start with like 6 eggs every morning for a little while. But with money these days as well for food, like the cost and rise, like that's insane. But I'm relatively healthy, and I try to balance out my meals. I try to keep an eye on like making sure I do start to like eat more fruits from day to day, try to get certain things, and if I read about something having a little bit of benefit, I try to incorporate it in my life a bit more. But I also don't opt out on eating junk food or eating like the occasional sweet treat and such. I keep it essentially balanced every day, so I have a little bit of everything. It's better to do it that way than to have like a bunch of everything or cheat days, in my opinion. But each to their own. So long as you're balancing it out and looking after yourself and noticing how your body reacts, keeping on tabs on that, I think it's generally okay. Again, I'm not a dietitian or anyone with like those kind of education, but I think that's my 2 cents, and I think it is a really good advice, and I think more people should tune into that, especially if you're someone who is like extreme skinny or extremely obese and always have to cop everyone's advice. I think this is the most healthy advice I can give you, and it's a good starting point to base on things. And the next step should be educate yourself, read more things, decide how you want to approach it, maybe reach out to a professional like nutritionist, dietitian, or whatever, and a fitness trainer, just to kind of get the best of all the worlds, if that makes sense. And I'm going to end this video off with the note that, and I hope that you guys are loving yourself today, making sure to give yourself a lot of grace, especially your body. And your body won't always be like this, love it while it lasts, thank it a lot for what it's doing for you. It may not be the perfect shape that other people think, but your body does a lot for you. It, detoxifies things for you. It keeps you sharp. It works hard for you to engage with people. It deals with so much. And every day is kind of a battle for it in a way. So yeah, make sure to show it some love today. Anyway, I was on the way back and I saw one of the sort of op shop kind of places, or like souvenir gift kind of places. I don't really ever know what to call these shops. It's called Humphreys in Manly, and I really wanted to go there because when I used to work there, I used to always walk past and go, I really want to buy something here. I really want to get a keep cup. Like again, I've lost my last one for coffee, and it's just so hard to find like a good keep cup. It's always really hard to find like the right lid. A lot of lids just look like they'll definitely spill, or like the opening. Like I just feel like they either come in the wrong shape or the wrong lid or the wrong material or the wrong size. It's just really, really hard to find a good one. So I never really end up having one. But yeah, I ended up buying some stuff that I thought was really cool that I want to add to my room. I saw these little paper building kind of things, and they had so many cute animals. I really wanted 3 of them, to be honest, but I was like, no, we're trying to save money right now and try not to overspend. So this was the one I ended up with. The shark one was super cute, and the whale one was super cute. There was also a platypus one that was really, really cute with a baby platypus next to it. Really want to go back for that one. But I thought it would be a good chance to try out one first and to see how it goes. I'll probably post this in my shorts or something. And then the other thing that I bought was they have really cool keychains that said Manly. See? Manly Beach, Australia. It's from Pacific Creations, the keyring. And I thought I'll carry this if I get a chance, because I'm going to see David McCready's concert on the 25th. If I can get close enough to him, I would probably like to give this to him, because he's a big surfer and loves the water, him and his brother both, who's also performing around Sydney, I believe, right now. But yeah, I just thought it would be really cool. Otherwise, it'll just be for me. I'll keep it on my lanyard selection of stuff that I've put together and carry around with me. But yeah, I guess that's enough for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It does feel nicer to have someone that I can talk to and share these moments with. And I know a lot of friends, dear friends to me, that actually do watch my podcast and keep an eye on me and seeing my growth. Thank you so much for always caring about me and listening to me rant about different things. It's what makes the channel work and what makes my passion worthwhile. And yeah, I hope to share more moments like these with you guys. Anyway, I'm gonna go and unpack and start editing, etc. I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care of yourself. Much love. Bye.